So here's the deal. Who wants to learn more about marketing? That's why we're here, right? We all want to learn more about marketing, okay? We market in a, in a relatively small geographic area. So we market in the greater Sacramento region. Most of us, right? Most of us are from the Sacramento region. How many of us market, do business in another state? Raise your hand if you do business in another state. Not talking loan officers, you show houses, you list houses in another state. Okay, nobody. This next speaker, he sells houses, his team sells houses, not in one state, not in two states, but in three. So it's safe to say that this guy knows a little bit about marketing. Yeah, that's a big deal, right? So this is somebody that we can learn from. So whip out your notebooks, get your pens ready. This guy's going to do over 700 transactions just this year, and you're in for a treat. He's going to teach you stuff that is implementable, that you can walk away and use in your business today. So welcome to the stage, Mr. John Gluch.
Thank you. All right. I'll be in Cabo, so excited to see some of you there. It's so good to be here. My name is John Gluch, and it's an honor to be here. When Brent asked me almost 5 days ago to be here, I said, you've clearly put a lot of time and energy and thought into preparing for this. Yes, I'm happy to come. I was golfing at Torrey Pines with some friends, and he called me, and he's just so Brent. He was like, I'm on a boat and wherever, and I'm doing this thing, and you got to come. So I'm really honored to be here, and I would have said no probably to almost everybody else, but Brent has done so much for me in my career, and I know for all of you, and so it's a privilege to be here and to share with you guys and give you some stuff that helps you to thrive in this coming market. But let's get ready for it. Pre-game rituals, so if you want to take your photos, great. If you do, I've got my Instagram handle up there. Feel free to tag me. I'd love to, I got my team resharing all those stories and all that stuff. It's john.gluch, and would love to get to connect with you on Instagram. And go ahead and, turn off your phones, put it on silent, or you can keep them, for your notes or whatever, but put them on silent and do all that stuff. Be present, I promise I'll make this worth your while. It's not gonna be a waste of your time. Grab a notepad, all that stuff, and clear the calculator. So you guys came in here, you got deals you're doing, you got escrows happening, you got stuff going on at home, challenges, right, all that stuff. Do your best to clear the calculator, right? Get back to zero, be present, and you will have a great, great experience today, I promise. Let's get rocking. Okay, here's actual footage of you guys in 2022. There you are on the swing while the entire town is burning down around you. You're fine. You're just swinging. Life's good, man. Real estate's awesome. No, the town is freaking on fire, everybody. This is a problem. There's some issues out there in the real estate market. Have you guys started to see the cracks in the foundation? Are you starting to see the flames around you? We got a problem, Houston. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's see what we can do. You need a little slap, Snap out of it. This is not 2021. Things have changed. This is a different situation. Some of you are not yet grasping what's happening. I've been doing this a long time. I spent years of my career selling houses when it took a year to sell a house. I sat down with a seller at a listing appointment, and we signed the thing, and I said, okay, I'll see you in about a year when we get this thing sold. And that was just part of life for a lot of years. And you guys aren't quite used to that yet. So we got some things to adjust to, some things to change to. So let's talk about the actual facts. This is a chart I love. This is a thing called the Cromford Index. This is Arizona data. As was mentioned, I'm in Arizona, Vegas, and San Diego. But the Arizona data is better than any other place, so I use it, and it really shadows California very nicely. And so this is an index called the Cromford Index. And the Cromford Index measures the heat of the market. And it's a guy named Mike Orr who created it. He's a statistician. He ran the statistics department at Arizona State University. And 100 on the Cromford Index is a normal market. So this is normal. 2014, that was a normal market. What that means is supply and demand is kind of where it should be. There's about a 4 or 5 month inventory of homes. Houses are appreciating, 3%, kind of normal, right? That's a normal market. You all know it was crazy, right? And here, this big high line up there, that was this year. And you could see we got up to 500. That's, 10 offers per house, right? Bidding wars on everything, all that stuff. And then you can see this scary drop right here. This started to happen. Does anybody else remember, kind of when this started to happen in April? When it was like, oh, things are different, right? And I was kind of terrified that this line was going to go really far down like it did in 2007. I didn't think it was, but I was scared. And thankfully, what's happened is we're starting to level off. back at normal. So scary. That's a quick transition. That's scary. But the market itself is getting more normal. It's not like catastrophic. I don't see some big bust. I just don't see that happening. And I don't know any real credible experts who are predicting like a crazy real estate bust. But so the market, I think, is kind of normalized. I'm not super afraid of that. But what does really matter to us as agents is sales count. So this again is Arizona. And what I did here is I charted the biggest year we've ever had, which was last year in sales. Because what do we care about as real estate agents? Transaction volume. How many homes sell? That's what matters, right? That's how many deals are there to go around. We got however many people in this room, and there's only so many deals to go around, right? So the more deals to go around, the better. And that biggest year we've ever had in Arizona and in California was last year. So you see that line plotted. Here's the worst year we've ever had, 2007. And you can see far, far less home sales, which in real estate was tough then, really tough. And then you've got the median. So this is a normal year. 2012 is that middle line. And you can see the yellow line here has now begun to fall below the median, meaning there are less deals to go around. And we were kind of ahead of the curve for the first half of the year, and we're still going to end up below the median. And I don't know how it's going to, I can't predict the future, but I think it's safe to assume that there will be less deals than average to go around next year. And there certainly are less deals to go around now than average. Anybody feeling that? Be honest, it's tough, a little slower, right? Okay, and here's all the California. This is the most recent data I could get from California, but this is the number of real estate agents. So look what happened here, right? All these agents went away because it was hard. Remember I just showed you 2007 is when we had the least amount of deals to go around. What naturally happens, there's less supply, right? Less deals. So we have less agents in the game. And so agents fell off a cliff. And we don't have 2021 data, but has the number of real estate agents gone up or down, you think, in the last year or two when it was up? We had crazy amounts of realtors getting it. COVID happened, and all of a sudden the market's crazy and people are getting in the game. And of course now that's the opposite, right? We're losing people. And we're going to lose a lot more. We're going to lose a lot more. So it's important to be aware of that, to kind of grasp the fact that this is different. It is actually harder. Like this is a different game we're playing. And here's the good news about when things get hard. How much my son is 7 years old and he plays football. How much do you think they pay him to play football? $0. He's terrible, right? I mean, he's just out there sort of wandering around the field, right? He gets paid nothing. And the game isn't so hard, actually. There's not a whole lot of challenge, right? You don't have to be that good to shine as a 7-year-old, right? Because the game is easy. And then slowly but surely, the game gets harder, right? It's a little harder to make the high school football team, but they're still not paying you anything. And even harder to make it at the college, but they're not paying you anything there either. And of course, when you become a professional, then the challenge is world class. I mean, the people who play at that level are the best in the world, and they make tons and tons of money. So here's the good news, is for those of you who want to be professional, or already are, if you want to be world class, if you've got it in you to decide, I'm going to be world class at this, you will make far more money when it's hard than you did when it was easy, I promise. I've seen that happen 100% of the time in my career, of when things get hard, the people who are the best make more money. So this is a gigantic opportunity for some of you. Who's ready to capture the opportunity? Who's going to, thrive? Like, you just got to make a decision in your soul that I'm no longer going to play, even if you're playing at a high level. You just got to decide, no, it's going to be that level times 2. I'm going to double down. I'm going to be crushed at this. And just the reality is there's people in this room who will not be in real estate in a year or two, who are here. And just decide you're not going to be one of those people. You're going to double down. You're going to learn. You're going to grow. You're here. And that's such a great start. Here's how my team's doing. As you can see, this was me early on. Not anything special. I was not crushing it. I was doing like 6 deals a year. And this is in Arizona when houses were like, $150,000. Not much of a career. I was just sort of doing okay. So I always like to point that out because success doesn't happen overnight, right? And also, I'm nothing special. Like, was an average agent, and things really started to take off for me in 2013, 2014. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because I joined a coaching program. And it's Craig Proctor Coaching. Those guys changed my life. I got a hold of these ideas that you could actually create a business. I came to something like this, where there were people teaching me strategies and tools and systems, and I decided I was going to be the one who implemented it. I sat in that room. There were people on stage. They'd bring up, 5, 6 people who are all making $1 million a year in real estate. I didn't even know that was possible. And these people were bozos. They were barely awake, and they were making $1 million a year. It's like, this is incredible. If that guy can do it, I can for sure do it. And I sat in the crowd, and my wife had come with me. It was in Anaheim. And my wife had come with me, and she was in the Starbucks, and she was pregnant with our first kid. And I walk out to the thing, and they pitched this coaching program, right? And I don't know what it was, $1,000 a month or something. We didn't have $1,000 a month, but we had a credit card. And so I walked out to my wife, and I said, hey, there's this thing, and I think we can do it. I think if we sign up for this, I can actually be good at this, you know? And she said, I believe in you. And it was one of the greatest moments of my life. I'll never forget it, because she got behind it. We put it on the credit card, and I was on that stage a year later doing $700,000 in GCI. Yeah, pretty cool. Here's the difference between me and 480 of the other people that were in that room is when I left, I was a savage. I watched every video. I listened to every freaking tape. I looked at all the stuff and I implemented. I went and did it. And I spent, tons and tons of time. 80-hour weeks, putting all this stuff into place, making it happen. So I say that to encourage you guys to today. You're going to get some ideas, and a lot of these are super actionable. Like, I'm a very practical speaker. You will have 10, 15 ideas that you can 100% get done in the next 30 days if you really decide you're going to do it. So I hope you decide to really go and implement today. So as you can see, things went really good. 2017, that's when I moved from Arizona to California. Ran my team remotely. I just wanted to live in San Diego because it's better than Phoenix. So I moved to San Diego. I ran my team remote, so I was out of production, right? I'm not going on appointments anymore. I've got a team that's executing, and all I was doing is marketing. That's my core competency to this day. That's the main thing I focus on. I still write the sales copy for our emails. I still design the website. I do all the marketing on the website. I do all that. Marketing is the most important function you'll ever perform as a real estate agent. So I focus on that and always have. And in 2017, we moved to California. We started losing some momentum and selling less homes, which I kind of expected because I wasn't there. But I got around in 2020. I got invited to, I know some of you in the room are at EXP, that's where I am. I got invited to an EXP mastermind, something similar to this. And I was at a brokerage at the time, Remax Brokerage, where I was the #1 agent in the company, and there was nobody to look up to. I was the #1 guy, right? So nobody really challenging me. And I got invited to an EXP thing, and I went to this deal, and almost everybody in the room was outselling me. It was crazy. And I was like, yep, that's the kind of people I want to be around. And I moved, and it worked out pretty good. We went from 160 to we'll do 700 homes this deal. So pretty crazy. And I attribute all of that to, there's a lot of luck anytime in life, right? Just being blessed, things going your way. But a lot of what has changed and why we just went through the roof, and the only reason I'm in multiple states is because I got around people at a new brokerage, a new environment who were crushing it. And they challenged me, they pushed me. They got me to new places that I didn't think I could ever get. So really, really special. Brent is one of those people who inspired me. I sat at the Build conference a year and a half ago, and there was guys on the stage selling 1,000, 2,000 homes. And I was like, dang, this is crazy. I'm in the right room. This is awesome. And was privileged to speak there this year. It was really cool. Got to get on the stage and do all that. So a lot of fun. So that's my story, and hopefully some inspirational nuggets in there of stuff that anybody can do to really, really excel. Okay, back to the market thing. Buyer's commissions, the average amount you get paid as a buyer's agent, as a percentage, you all know that's going down, right? You see in lower co-brokes, especially like last year. This year, maybe a little softer. But we see these fees going down. We did track it. Those are San Diego numbers. So the average commission percentage is going down. This is another challenge that we're experiencing in the marketplace. I'm going to address that today, how we can beat that trend. All right, I think we need an advance help here. You need a plan. There you go. That's an exciting one to wait for. There's the joker. You guys need a plan. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to come up with a really good plan to help you beat all of these market trends for you to be the one that actually wins. Okay, let's talk about the first thing, profitable buyers. So we're going to get really practical and walk through several different strategies to help you get more buyers, more sellers, and to actually convert those people. But I don't want you just to have buyers. I want you to have profitable buyers. I want you to make more money on the buyers that you're working with. And so let's talk about that. First of all, getting buyers off the fence. Is this a challenge right now? Buyers on the fence? Give me some excuses. What are buyers saying to you right now? What's going on? Rates are too high. Yeah. The market's going to crash, right? Prices are going, I'm going to wait till next year, all that stuff. All right, let's see if we can figure some of that out. Let's talk about first, what's the goal? When you're calling someone back, what's the goal of calling back a lead, a prospect, someone you've been working with? Why are you calling that person? What's the goal? What's the outcome? What are you trying to achieve? Let me get a couple ideas. Set an appointment. Okay, what else? Anything else? That's make a sale, right? Get a transaction. Yep. Get some rapport. There you go. That's okay. So there's several different ideas on what you're doing. I think it's important to realize, like, when you sit down and call some people, these could be people you've probably got 8 or 10 dead buyers right now who are kind of going nowhere. They've ghosted you, whatever, right? You got some new people maybe you're working. So I want to talk you through how to help all those people, how to get engaged. But I think the first thing that's important to recognize is that your goal, in my opinion, every time you call back a lead, and Craig Proctor taught me this, is to determine timing and motivation. That's what you're trying to figure out. Because yes, you want to set an appointment sometimes. And yes, you want to build rapport sometimes. And yes, all those answers you guys gave were correct. But what we're trying to do is figure out what's happening with this person, what's going on in their life right now in terms of their timing and motivation, so that we can actually address the right problems. We don't want to be solving problems that they don't actually have. And I think very often we're prescribing the same script, the same plan for everybody, even though they have different objectives. And so we want to determine their timing and motivation. Your job is to help them see the light. Why now is a good time to buy, right? So let me give you hand raises so we can hear everybody. And can we do the microphone? Is that an option? Yeah. So I want to hear you guys tell me why now is a good time to buy. So let's get some hands. We got one right up front here. So, and these would be good. If you hear something good, this would be a good time to write stuff down. Good scripts, good lines for why now is a good time to buy. All right, go ahead.
Well, for the first thing, home ownership is recession-proof, right? If you can more than afford that payment, it really doesn't matter what the interest rate is, because you date your rate, you marry the house.
There you go. That's a great line. Date the rate, marry the house. Tony Robbins said that too. So that's a great line. If you don't have that in your database, write that one down. Yep, that's great. Okay. And everybody knows what that means, right? You buy a house today, it's whatever it costs, $700,000, and your interest rate's terrible, let's say 6-7%. That's fine. If rates go down, you can just refinance, right? You get a lower rate, but you still got that house at the price that you bought it at. House prices go up over time without question, right? Like, you get a long enough time horizon, house prices are going to go up. And that time horizon historically is like 5 years, right? If you're going to be in the house 5 years, there's almost no chance that it goes down. So take the bet, right? And then you refi if rates go down. Now, rates could always go up, and right now they are. So you're actually taking risk by waiting. And this is all, I'm not, like, maybe some of this is an education to you, but more, I'm hoping that you're internalizing this dialogue for when you're talking to buyers, right? So rates could very well go up. In fact, we think they probably will, because inflation's still on a tear. So you're taking a lot of risk not buying now, because you could buy at X rate and it might be X plus 1% in a month. But there's no downside risk, because if the interest rates go down, you're good. You can refinance. Yes?
Sellers are offering concessions right now.
Yeah, are sellers motivated? Do you guys have Open Door up here? Is Open Door buying houses?
Yeah, we do.
Boy, Open Door, they are getting pummeled because they bought way too many houses, and they are giving away houses. It's insane. If I was working buyers directly right now, I would look at every listing Open Door had and try to sell those to my client, because I can call those listing agents up and say, hey, listen, I know you're listed at 500. I got a guy who's at 400. Would you entertain a 400 offer? And Open Door right now is looking at those kind of crazy discounts. So yes, buyers are offering concessions. Did you have people who a year ago couldn't buy because they were VA, FHA, whatever, they needed some kind of credit? Did you have some of those people? Yeah. And now they can get a credit. Great answer. Why else? Why else is a good time to buy?
They say, buy and then wait. Don't wait to buy.
Yeah.
And the reason being is, if you bought last year in this area, you're 106% of the list to sales price. Now it's 96%. So you're getting the leftovers and fighting for them. Now you can get the center cut right now.
Yep.
So it's actually a better time to buy and get a property.
Absolutely.
Rates suck though.
Yeah. Great answer. We got one more over here. Excuse me, ladies.
Lenders are rolling out a bunch of DPAs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Explain that. Explain what that means.
down payment assistance programs.
Yeah.
So they're going to start competing with each other.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of volume.
Yep.
So they're competing for volume the same way we're competing for for volume.
Yep.
And that makes a good time to buy.
Totally. Absolutely. The other thing you can do, what I would do is get a hold of some of your credit unions, local credit unions, people here in town, and see if they've got any adjustable rate mortgage programs right now that they're offering. We have one in San Diego, one of our San Diego credit unions that was offering like ARMs at like 3-4%, even when rates were at 6%, because they were just trying to get customers in the door. And adjustable rate mortgages aren't a bad deal if you're not going to be in the house forever. I have an adjustable rate mortgage on my house because we move all the time. We just like to punish ourselves and move every 2 years. So I've got one on my house because I know we're dummies and we're not going to be there very long. So we got an adjustable rate mortgage. So go shop around and find mortgages that are great deals for your customers, right? All right, so some good stuff there. Right now, the agent that could get a buyer to make a decision will win. It used to be the agent that could get a buyer to pay the most wins. Now it's whoever can get a buyer to make an offer. So you're sifting as you make these phone calls. You're sifting for what's their timing and motivation. Let me give you a couple scripts for that. This one I heard yesterday. I liked a lot. If you guys are working Zillow leads or property inquiry leads, stuff like that, typically what we do on our Zillow leads or people calling on an open house, a sign call, stuff like that, Realtor.com leads, we're just trying to show them the house, right? That's our script. So someone goes on Zillow, says, I want to see this house. We get the phone call. We say, great, we understand you want to see 123 Main Street. How does today at 3 o'clock work? That's our script, right? And they're like, yeah, sure, okay, we'll go see it at 3 o'clock, right? So once we book the appointment, now the next line we're asking is, so are you currently renting month to month? I love that question because like who knows what's actually happening, right? They could own a house, they could whatever, but you're coming at them like with a direct question instead of like tell me a little bit about your motivation or your timing or whatever. That's kind of open-ended, but if you come at them with an assumption that is in a lot of cases going to be close to accurate, they're probably renting, maybe it's not month to month, maybe they have a lease, maybe they own a house, whatever. But if you come at them with that question, then they're going to correct you if you're wrong. Oh, no, we've got a lease till June, or no, we're living with grandma, or we own a house, or whatever, right? So I love that question. Are you currently renting month to month? As a good, let's figure out their timing and motivation on the initial phone call. So love that. When you're calling colder leads, leads that have been around a while that have gone cold on you, you're going to need to come up with some kind of excuse why things have changed, why you need to have a new kind of conversation. Maybe they've been ghosting you, right? A really good thing to have in your back pocket with those people is one of two things. One is if you went out to the credit union and you found rates that are in the 3s or 4s or whatever, that's a great reason to get someone on the phone. Hey, I know interest rates are at 6%. I just found a great lender who will do them at 4%. Let's chat. That'd be a great text to send. And even if you can't find the credit union who's doing that or whatever, you've got lenders who you can buy the rate down, right? So you can get, the buyer could pay some money to get the rate down, or as the gentleman over here said, the seller can do it now, because now we've got sellers willing to contribute cash. So I would use that script even if you didn't necessarily have a perfect loan product in your back pocket. Something along the lines of, hey, I've got a great strategy we're using right now to get buyers into houses at 4.5% or 5% or whatever. Another one, this is a similar strategy for renters, right? So, hey, are you renting month to month? No, I've got a lease till July. Hey, great news. We have a product for home buyers who are renting where we can actually get any lease fee you have to break your lease early, we can actually get that paid for by the seller. Let's chat. Because what you're doing is concessions, right? Concessions solve all the problems, right? Now you just have to position it in a way, this is marketing, positioning. You're positioning it in a way to solve the problem, right? You're just figuring out, again, timing, motivation. What's their timing? Well, July. Okay, that's not awesome. Let's solve the timing problem by getting the lease break fee paid for by the seller. You need to get in all the details of that. You just need to talk about how you have a great new program, right? We do the same thing with first-time home buyers. We get a Zillow call, it's a first-time home buyer, and they're like, hey, we figure that out in the phone call. So will this be your first home? Yeah. Oh, great news. We have this awesome program for our first-time home buyers where we can get them access to off-market properties, properties that aren't on Zillow, not available to anybody else. It's really a unique, great program. It's not a first-time home buyer program. We'll do that for everybody. We're just calling it a first-time home buyer program because that's what they are. So you're meeting them where they're at. You're speaking language that all the Instagram ads, you guys buy all the stupid stuff you buy on Instagram, right? You're like, oh, because they talk to you. They hit that button somehow, right? That purse or that, yoga mat or whatever, they aimed it right at you and you were like, yes, I need this, Same thing. We're just trying to find the language that's appropriate for our people. All right, so this summarizes some of what you guys just said. Yeah, interest rates are high, but they can always be refinanced. You don't have to buy a house that you don't want. That's good news, right? Before it was like, would you like this house or that one? And that's it. Good. Well, it's 4 bedrooms. I need 5. Sorry. That's not the case anymore. We've got an increase in inventory, which is really nice. So people can buy a house they like. 3 months ago, $1 million house sold for, this is like 6 months ago, this is an older slide, sold for 1.1. Now we might be able to get it for 9 or 800. That's pretty cool. There's almost no risk of the prices going down long term. So imagine we're having this conversation 20 years ago. Imagine you and I are sitting at, let's say you're at a house, right? Imagine you and I were sitting at this house 20 years ago. What do you think this house would have sold for 20 years ago? Whatever, $10,000, right? Nothing. So 20 years ago, if you were having a conversation with yourself, like past you 20 years ago, would you tell you to buy the house? Yeah. Do you think the same thing is likely to be true 20 years from now? Yeah. You're just giving them we've gotten really used, as a culture, used to these shorter time frame way of thinking, right? Like houses go up 15, 20, 25% a year. That's crazy. That's very unusual, right? So we need to help people readjust to a longer time frame. And this is awesome right here. This is a chart I would replicate. I would put in your presentations, whatever you guys have. I also have a buyer book that I will email you guys if you want. If you jump on Instagram and just message me or follow me on Instagram. I got my virtual assistant team, and they'll send you a link where you can give me your email address, and I'll email you the buyer book we use. So in our buyer book, and it's a little booklet we use every time we go meet with buyers. This is in that buyer book, and it's everybody gets an orange line. So let's talk about the orange line, right? So if you're renting, what happens to your payments over time? They go up, right? That's exciting. You get to pay more all the time. And your equity, what does that do? Nothing. Equity is flat. You have no equity. 0. So another good line I like is rent is 100% interest. You think 6% is bad. You're paying 100 right now. That's way worse. Rent is 100% interest. So, no, your equity here is going to be 0. Everybody gets an orange line, right? Something's going up. Who's making the money in this scenario? The landlord, the person who owns the house, which is what we're talking about with the buyer, right? If you own, what goes up? Your equity, right? The value of the house over time, almost unquestionably. I mean, short of something super crazy, stuff goes up, right? And then what happens to your payments? They're fixed. They stay. So you get to pick which orange line you want. Do you want your payments to go up, or do you want your equity to go up? It's kind of that simple, really, right? Like, this is such a great little visual demonstration. And so this is the kind of stuff that to be working into a couple things, working into conversations that you have with people when you have initial meetings, conversations you're having with buyers that you've been working with for a while, and then also videos. This would be a great thing to just draw, right? And do a selfie video that you send out to your prospects. Like, hey, I was just thinking about this today, or I went to a great talk, and I just hadn't quite looked at it this way and thought I'd share it with you. And I'd love to chat about some new strategies I have. Let's say this was a cold lead, right? Someone who's gone cold. So I was just thinking about this today, and I thought this was a great illustration, and you just write it out for them. And I'd love to chat about how we can make sure that we get your equity line going up as soon as possible. In fact, right now there's some crazy deals out there. And here, let me give you, let's mine a few stories right now. Who got a house in escrow recently for well under market price, like well under asking price? Like, you got a good deal. Okay, let me get a couple numbers here. Go ahead.
19,000 under was an open door.
Okay, 19,000 under, yeah. 80,000 under. 85,000. Okay, what were the prices on those? Like, list price? 800. 7. Okay, so you guys now have a friend in the office who just got an offer accepted for 10% under asking price, right? That's a great story. Hey, I know it's, we've been, having a hard time finding the right place for you. A lot of you guys have home searches built for your clients that you built 6 months ago or a year ago. Back when, like, if someone was looking for 800, you built the search for 700. Now it should be, 900, right? Because these are the kind of margins that we're potentially working with. Not every listing, but some listings, clearly. So what I would do, script for that, would be something along the lines of, hey, I heard a story today in the office of an agent who just got a deal under contract for 10% under asking price. I'd love to bump your search up and see if we can't go. I know you're looking for 700. I think we ought to start looking all the way up to 800. So can we jump on the phone and see if we can't chat about rebuilding your search? You're just trying to get get some conversation going, right? And you fix the search. So some of you guys need to go back and rebuild some of your searches for your clients. Get them back in the game. All right? Along those same lines, what I would do as well, and I'm just kind of shooting from the hip a little bit on these because it's stuff that hopefully, again, you'll pick up some. You don't need to take all these details, but some of these scripts, these dialogues, hopefully you can write down and go use today. A good script for somebody who's gone cold would be to go find them a house that's under market, or excuse me, that's over their price point that you know will take less. So Open Door, whoever, or you could just call around. Just find listings that have been on the market 60 days that kind of fit it doesn't have to be perfect fit, they kind of fit, just to prove a point. So you go, let's say your buyer's at 800. Go find them a 900 house that's listed today for 900, that's been on the market for 50, 60, 70 days. Get a hold of the listing agent. You might have to call 5 or 10 to get someone to say yes to this, but call 5 or 10 listing agents and say, hey, I've got a buyer. They're awesome. They're incredible. They're well qualified. They're super motivated, but they're at 800. I know you're at 900. You've been in the market a long time. Would your seller look at a $800,000 offer? And if they say yes, then you call your buyer or you text them and you say, hey, I've got a great lead on a property that I think you're going to love, and it's listed for 800, but I know they'd look at 700. Can we go take a look? Don't send them the listing. Don't send them the link. Just get an appointment so that you can have the conversation, learn more about their timing and motivation. So you need some bait. You need some bait to dangle in front of your buyers to get them back on the phone if they've been ghosting you. So some interesting ideas there. And then again, tell the stories. So this is all stuff, all these little scripts and dialogues are things that you could very easily be popping on Instagram as a reel. Like that example today, the 10%, like that for sure should be a reel or a Instagram story or something today. Like, man, there's some crazy deals out there. I just heard a story about a buyer that got a house, $800,000 house for, $720. So tell the story. Be out there. Be marketing. Right? All right. The process is the same with sellers. Okay. Same deal. If we could do the microphone again, let's get a couple reasons why it's a good time to sell. Why it's a good time to sell. So raise your hand if you've got an idea, a story you would tell, or a example of why should someone sell right now instead of waiting.
Uncertainty and the fact that the market is going down. You don't know how far it goes down, so catch it while you can.
100%. There's for sure uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. Absolutely. What's happening today, we can figure out. We cannot figure out what's going to happen in 6 months. That's a guess. Absolutely. Uncertainty. What else?
Buyers want to buy before interest rates go up higher.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's worried about these interest rates going up. And so now's a good time to sell because there's plenty of buyers out there still in the game. Great one. What else? Yeah, great. He says inventory is still low. Thank you. That's great. So here's the thing with your sellers, too. A lot of them have to buy another house. They're move-up buyers, move-down buyers, whatever. And now you can get contingent offers accepted. That's pretty cool. So a lot of your people who, they were in a situation where they're like, yeah, I could sell, but then where am I going to go? That problem is now solved in a lot of scenarios because when you're making offers, those buyers or those sellers are happy to take a contingent deal. So, hey, we can get you, don't worry about selling, and then not having any place to go. We can go find you a place and make a contingent on the sale of your home. And so then you go find that seller, their new house, and something they're going to fall in love with, move that needle first, and then get their house listed because you can actually get a contingent offer done. You might have to get some prep work done in there ahead of time, but that's a cool thing that didn't used to exist, that now it does. All right, so tell the story on High Note. Who's using High Note in here? Anybody? Oh my gosh, you're welcome. Here we go. Just changed all your careers. So High Note is so spectacular. It's here's what it is. It's effectively a very simple, easy to create website. And one-page website that you can customize to clients, right? So if you go to johngluch.com/High Note, I have a video where I show exactly how we use it, and then I have a link if you want to sign up for High Note. I think it's, I don't know, $40, $50 a month. I forget exactly how much it is, but it's nothing crazy. And it's and you can share it if you have a team or whatever. My team all uses the same High Note. But High Note is a great way to pre-sell yourself. So what I do anytime we're going on a buyer appointment, anytime we're going on a listing appointment, they get a High Note link first. And High Note is just a link to a single web page. And that web page has a couple videos of us explaining what's going on in the market and selling ourselves, what makes us really cool. And so if you go to that website, it'll show you what we put in there, all of our unique selling propositions, and it's a great way to pre-sell yourself. And all the stuff I've been talking about today, the market updates, why it's a good time to sell, why it's a good time to buy, those 3 or 4 things we kind of mined out of the crowd here would be a video you would put in your high notes, so that before you go on the listing, you say, hey, before we meet, take a look at this. I prepared a special website for you, and it's going to have all this great information about how to make sure we get top dollar for you when you sell. And one of the things in there should be a video of all the stuff that we just figured out of why it's a good time to sell, because people are wondering that, and it helps if you can adjust that even beforehand. So check that out. That's a really, really great resource. Here's Daniel on my team. This guy, brand new agent, he was a cop in San Diego a year ago and was sick of doing that and quit. And his first 10 months in real estate did 10 million. Pretty good. Pretty good guy. He's awesome. And he just did what we told him to do. He didn't know how to do real estate, right? So he just followed the plan, and it worked out really great. He's awesome. High Note's been a game changer for me. I'm a brand new agent, young, and so establishes credibility with clients. It's just a great resource to set you apart, to make you look more professional. So there it is, johngluch.com/highnote. Check that out. All right, how to keep active buyers in the game. All right, so let's talk through this. How can we keep the people who are ready to go from quitting, from giving up on you? We've talked about some of this, but our buyer book is, I'm going to walk you through, and again, if you just hit me up on Instagram, we'll get you the copy of the buyer book as well. But I have the slides here that show you what it is and what is more important. I mean, the book helps because you just kind of follow the book, but what's most important are the philosophies that I'm going to walk you through here on kind of how this works. So we can get you the buyer book, and what we have in there is our weekly inventory maximizer meeting. So, and you could ignore that bottom part, sorry. That was for when I did this back home. So the Buyer Jumpstart Checklist is basically a weekly meeting. Like we want to get to a rhythm where you never leave an appointment with a buyer without an appointment. There's three possibilities, right, of an appointment. Either you have a next appointment, or you write an offer, or like if they're crazy and you don't want to work with them, you move on, right? But either you're writing an offer or you're setting a next appointment. Because so often we lose them after that first interaction, or maybe the second interaction. They're just ghosted, right? So you got to set an appointment. So what you do at that appointment, and the language for setting the appointment would be something like this, like, hey, okay, great, this was awesome. I'm glad we saw this house today, and that we realized it's not a fit. And now that I've learned that you actually need the third bedroom, or that you hate the whatever, or that you love this, I've actually got a few properties in mind now that I have all that data that I think would be a great fit. How does Tuesday at 3 o'clock work? That's the script. Because not, hey, when should I check in? Or, I don't know, just keep looking at your emails and let me know when a house gets emailed to you that you like, and I'll open the door. Don't do that, right? You guys can do better than that. You're professionals. So set an appointment with the houses that you just had in mind. Did you have a house in mind? Probably not, but you will soon because you got an appointment, right? So you set an appointment next Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and next Tuesday by 3 o'clock, guess what your job is between now and next Tuesday at 3 o'clock? To freaking go find some houses, which is your job, as it turns out. That's actually what we get paid for, is to go out and find houses for people. So often, I was guilty of this. You just set people up on searches and say, call me when you find the house, right? And it works in some markets, but it's not going to work in this market. Remember how I was talking about things are getting harder? This is what you got to do now, is you've got to go find some properties, right? You got to go figure this out. And so that's part of this meeting is we're going to look at properties. So this is the Jumpstart Checklist, and part of what's on here is like, okay, let's set our next appointment for the weekly inventory maximizer meeting. I just named it that because, I don't know, it sounded cool, right? Inventory maximizer meeting. We're going to have one of those. And what we're going to do at that meeting is we're going to look at the houses that you didn't find, right? Meaning that the client didn't find. And so I'm actually going to be proactively looking for properties for you. And I've got a post on my website on johngluch.com about how to find off-market properties, but very quickly, finding off-market properties ought to be something you become very, very good at. You got to get good at this. And so you got to figure out how to crowdsource in your area. If you're at EXP, we have a tool called Raven. And if no one in Sacramento is like, you got to have some team leaders run with this flag or else it's not going to work. But Raven is a program where you can post listings before they go on the market that get shared with your office. And so, like, if you're at Keller Williams, it'll be your people in your Keller Williams office and whatever, because we can't post them online because of clear cooperation and all that, right? You can't just, you go get a listing. Until it's on MLS, you can't share it, right, publicly. But Raven allows you, it's a website that helps you search for homes, And it allows you to share office exclusives with your office. Here's the good news about EXP. We only have one office, and it's the whole freaking country. Pretty awesome. What that means is everyone in your whole area can share their coming soon listings on Raven with each other at scale. Again, it's working really well in San Diego and really well in Phoenix because we have a bunch of team leaders who have institutionalized this. Every time we list a home, the first thing we do is put it on Raven before anything. So some people have got to do this. Brent or some team leaders have got to check this out. If you go on my website and search Raven, you'll see I do a video on how to do this. So it's not going to be very valuable if a bunch of people don't do it, but that's one way. The second way is open doors properties, right? All the big iBuyers in town, figure out what name they buy under, like what's their LLC or whatever. That's not hard to find. And search for all the properties in the tax records that they've bought, but they bought a week ago or whatever, right? There's no way it's sold yet. They just bought it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever. You can do that on your tax data website. And then another way is to really get good at connecting with wholesalers. So wholesalers are flippers or investors. We buy ugly houses, cash offers, whatever. How you find them is get on Google and search cash offer for my house. And you'll get ads from 20 different people, right? Those people are the people who are buying houses. So you get a hold of them, say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I'm always looking for great listings for my buyers for off-market properties. Can I get added to your list? And they all have a list that they email out. And they email out those wholesale properties. This will take some work. This is the hard stuff that most agents are not going to do. They're just not. But if you do it, you will make a fortune. You will. Because what will happen every week is now at this inventory maximizer meeting, you have something to say. Hey, I hear the 3 off-market properties that I found. I found this on Raven. I got this open door, just bought this one. This is a wholesale, whatever. And that, even if they're not necessarily the perfect fit, it demonstrates to your buyers that you're willing to put in the work. That you're showing, I would show up every week to that meeting with off-market properties, period, even if they didn't fit their criteria. And how many of you had a buyer say it's got to be an XYZ community and with whatever bedrooms, and they buy something on the whole other side of town with less bedroom, right? You've all had that happen. So do the work of really proactively pursuing getting properties for your people. So the big picture principle here is you got to be meeting with your people every single week in an ideal world. People who are motivated, right? If they're not motivated, this is going to be a different kind of meeting because we're figuring out timing and motivation, right? If it's a motivation issue, no amount of you just showing up with houses is going to fix that. If they believe the market's going to crash, if they've got some other motivation issue, you've got to deal with that. So that's back to my question of why are we trying to have this interaction with somebody to determine timing and motivation. If their motivation is low, some good scripts for that would be something like this. Someone's like, yeah, the market's going to crash. Okay, how much do you think the market's going to crash by? Whatever they say. If they say 100% or whatever, you don't have much, okay. Nothing I can do, right? But if they're realistic, I don't know, maybe 10%. Okay, so if I could find you a property today at 10% under market value and you didn't have to wait for that to maybe happen, would that be something you would be interested in? That would be a good script for those people. And then you have to go do it. You have to go deliver, right? But you can. You absolutely can. Home flippers right now, people who are buying homes at scale in particular, they're hurting and they're dumping inventory. I know because I invest in some of those companies and we're getting our butts handed to us right now. It's no fun. And it's because, if you have 100 homes in inventory, you just can't wait it out. That's not possible. If you have 1 or 2, you can, but not the big scale flippers. So anybody who's doing big flips in town, lots and lots of flips, those would be good people to talk to you about helping them unload their inventory. All right. Yeah, so there's that link or that page on johngluch.com on how to find off-market properties. And yeah, find other areas of home styles that they might like. So be proactive again in looking for properties that might not be what they said, but that you think possibly they would like based on what you know about them. Go find a better loan product. Set a max on the number of buyers you can work for. So if you had one buyer and they were motivated, they wanted to buy a house, and that's all you had was the one and you needed to pay the bills, but there was nothing on MLS that fit their criteria. I mean, if you really had to get the bills paid, could you find them what they needed? Probably. It's not probably, it's the issue of some of your buyers, not all, but some of them, the issue is not that there aren't any houses for them. The issue is that you haven't put in the work to go find them the property. And I hope that's motivating and actually exciting. When you catch hold of this idea that it is not MLS's job to find a house for your buyers, it's your job, that's very empowering. Because now you're not just sort of powerless to like, well, I guess whatever comes up this week. Like, I'm telling you, this works. Like, I got agents on my team who crush it at this. They're so good at making deals happen. They're market makers. They figure out, I've got a buyer who needs this. I'm going to go find a seller who has that. And I'll talk some strategies on how exactly to do that. Go look at houses. So this would be something you haven't been in the car with someone for maybe 2-3 months. Hey, this is a good script for that. Hey, a lot of things have changed. The market's there's so much more inventory right now, and we can get houses that are at a much deeper discount than we could have. Let's just get in the car and go see some things. I got 3 in mind. Let's meet you at this first one. Let's go take a look. Even if they aren't the perfect houses, I want to just catch back up and get some feedback on these properties. We've only been looking at houses that are 700. Let's go look at some that are 800 and see what's out there. I think you'll be surprised. Something that they haven't quite thought of yet. Try to re-energize them. And then never leave an appointment without an appointment. Okay, leverage your buyer to get a listing. This is being a market maker. So you got a buyer. You're ready to go. No houses for them. Go use that buyer to get yourself a listing. So post buyer needs on social media. I think I have an example of that. Yeah. So I posted this. I don't know, it's like a little while ago. But the market is down, right? I wanted it to fit in the little Facebook red box thing, right? If you make it too long, it won't let you do it this way. But I wanted it to be short and concise, so I had to use emojis and keep it short. Like, you guys should all come up with some version of this today. And hey, the market's down, thinking of cashing in and selling your rental. We got a buyer looking for 3 rentals with tenants. Message me. I didn't have a buyer looking for 3 rentals with tenants. But I did, right? There's people in this room who, if I had the right deal, would buy one of those houses, right? So you always have a buyer. Always. For every circumstance. Because if it's the right price, you got a buyer. If it's a crazy deal and no one here wants to buy it, call me. I'll buy it. Because it's, good deals, there's always buyers for, right? So this right here, I posted. You want to use punchy language like what I did. You got to be specific. It cannot be, hey, I got a buyer looking for a house. Do you know anyone looking to sell? That's not going to work. It's got to be specific. This worked because I got 6 leads from this. This worked because it was specific. And one of 6 leads, and one of them was like okay, we're listing their house, So not bad for 3 minutes of posting, right? And it's got to be specific. So like, I've got a first-time home buyer looking for a house under 500 in whatever, some subdivision, some city that people here would be familiar with, right? Be really specific, because it's like it's similar to if I said, hey, I'm looking to go see a movie. What should I go see? You'd be like, I don't know, man. Like, can you narrow that down for me? You want a war movie? You're looking for, like, give me something specific. But if I was like, hey, I'm really looking for something I can take my daughter to. She's 7, and she really likes kind of funny movies. Could you think of anything? Now it's a lot easier for your brain to, like, we're human beings. We're all, inherently lazy. We're not trying to do a lot of extra work. So do the work for them by writing good sales copy, which is what this is, to get people to comment. And then another thing you could do, and what you should do if you did something like this, and you should do this for your actual buyers too, you could have a picture of them, with their permission in the Facebook post. Hey, here's Jim and Susie, and we're looking for a house for them right now, and it needs to be XYZ, and we cannot find what we're looking for. Do you know anyone who's looking to sell something like that? Use the picture of them, tag them in it, send them a text message, and let them know all the great work you're doing for them, so that they're not just sitting around wondering why they hired you as a realtor, right? I do this with my wife. When I wash the dishes, hey, I just washed the dishes, shoot her a text. Just took out the trash can. Because you know what my wife is not doing all day? She's not sitting around all day. Like, I bet John's doing awesome stuff for me right now. That's not what's happening at all. She's sitting around like, that son of a, I bet he hasn't done anything for me all week. So I'm marketing all the time. You've got an awesome husband. I'll prove it to you. Look, here's the picture. How great I'm doing, right? So you got to do that with your buyers. It's easy to be part of your process. Hey, here's all the stuff I'm doing. You could do this at the meeting. You could tag them in it. Make sure that you're letting them know. The other thing this does is it informs your sphere, all the people who follow you on social, that you're in the game. You got a buyer. You're not even if you just started last week, you can show up big time on social. Like, you're awesome because you do have a buyer, right? You all have friends at your brokerage who have a buyer. So you collectively have a buyer that needs XYZ. And so you're marketing, you're showing, to your sphere, even if you've only been in the game a week, that you're playing full out. You're working for your clients, and you have a buyer. It's pretty cool. This stuff really works. Yes? Question?
How do you prepare your buyer in order to do that, to put them on social media? Sometimes they might not want to be out there.
Yeah, and if they, you got to ask their permission if people don't want to get tagged or whatever. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I do that. I ran ads like this for a while, and it was a picture of like my friends, like they were just a cute family, They weren't looking for a house, but it was them, right? Here's Ryan and Kylie. They're looking for whatever, right? So yeah, you just use a picture. This is marketing, by the way. Like, the commercial you watch where the guy's like eating Wheaties or whatever, that guy got paid to do that. He's not like a big Wheaties guy. That's okay. You're marketers, right? Don't get hung up on rules. Dan Beer's line, which I love, is you don't have to play by marketing rules that don't exist. Like, it's okay to market. So that's a great question, though. And if they don't want to get tagged, then don't tag them or don't show. But be sure to send them a picture of like, hey, I just posted this. I'm fingers crossed emoji. Hoping we find something today, so that they know you're doing it, even if you're not like showing them on Facebook. Any other questions on that? Yeah, you guys can stop me if you have questions along the way. I'm giving you a lot. Like, I'm gonna give you way more than you can get done, but that's okay. You'll pick up 5-6 things that you can do. It'll be great. I'm just gonna run, and if you gotta go wee or whatever, go ahead. We're not stopping, man. Okay, another way to do this: write letters to neighbors. This is my buddy Jason. He's in Tennessee, and I talked to Jason. I'm like, he's like, hey, I got this great strategy. I just sent this letter to all these sellers, and I got like 10 leads or whatever it was. I'm like, oh man, send me the letter. And he sent me the letter. This is the freaking letter. Dear whoever, would you be interested in selling your house at whatever to a client of mine? If so, call me. I'm like, that's the genius plan you have? You even text me for, man. But it worked. It's not rocket science, right? And I think part of the genius of this is it's just simple, right? The people read that, didn't have to burn a lot of calories trying to figure out what he was trying to accomplish, right? It's like, okay, I got it. The message is clear, So this can be super simple. And again, if you got a buyer, this is especially helpful if you really do have a buyer who's like, I got to be in that condo complex or that subdivision or that whatever. If they're like super, super jazzed on a particular area, then this is a good strategy for that. So you could also door knock. And the script I would use for door knocking a neighborhood with this strategy would be, hey, I've got a buyer who's looking for a property in this neighborhood. It's got to be in this neighborhood. And make it generic enough to where like kind of every house would fit this criteria, right? So like it's got to be 3 bedrooms, single story, whatever. Do you know anybody looking to sell a house like that? Any of your neighbors, whatever. Don't ask if they want to sell their house. That's like a super direct, aggressive strategy. Ask if they know anybody who's interested in selling a home like that. And then you could leave this behind, this letter, or you could just mail the letter. And this is also a good open house strategy if you're farming a neighborhood or the neighborhood you really want to get a buyer house in. Sit houses open in there. Find somebody who's got a listing that will let you sit their house open. Sit the house open. Go knock all the doors and just invite people to the open house. And that's a great opener because that's you're coming from contribution. You're inviting them to something, and then, oh, by the way, I've also got a buyer who's looking in this neighborhood. If you happen to know anyone who's looking to sell, the one I'm sitting open today isn't a fit for them. But they'd like something similar, so if you happen to know anyone. So that's another good way to do that as well. And, reminder, make sure you show your people you're doing this. If you're going to do this, don't do it secretly. Tell your buyers that you're up to that. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, door knocking. Same basic principle. I think oftentimes, we're just trusting MLS to get the job done for us. Whereas if we were a little more creative, a little more thoughtful, we would actually land ourselves more business. We get more listings, and sometimes you're going to get listings. In fact, most times you're going to get listings that aren't actually a fit for that buyer, but you still got a listing, which is pretty cool. You can also email people that same basic script I just sent of people in a certain neighborhood that, if you've got them in your database, they just live in wherever they live. Hey, I've got a buyer looking in XYZ neighborhood. Do you know anybody looking to sell? Yeah, same. So this is the same idea. Hey, I'm working with a home buyer relocating into Madison from Indiana for a job transfer. Their home in Indiana closed on Friday. They're in temporary. You tell the story a little bit. Here's the catch. They need a fence, backyard. Do you know anyone looking for property? So again, this is really specific language. This is a good specific, not too many, not too big, not too long, real simple. And you could send this to anybody in your, you could go through your list. If you got 50, 100 people in your spreadsheet or wherever you keep your people, every one of them could get one of these. Just target it to their market, their neighborhood. Ask buyers and we can put the slides, if you guys want the slides, I don't know. I'm sure you guys have somewhere you could share them. Yeah, BrentGove.com. There you go. You're welcome to take those there too. All right, leverage your buyer to get a listing. Okay, yeah, here's another referral script. So, love Brian Buffini. He's, in fact, the guy who got me into, I didn't even know coaching was a thing until I heard Brian Buffini. Love him, spectacular. But I don't love his language around, hey, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Okay. What I like a lot better is, I don't know who gets sold by that. But anyways, he got a lot of stuff he's doing that's incredible. But I like this better. So someone's like asking for, hey, how's the market? How's business? Anything like that, right? How's it going? This is your opportunity to present what I just explained, which is that you're busy and you have a need. So how are things? Things are crazy. Even with the increase in rates, I'm still having trouble. And you would do this like conversationally, right? This is like a friend at a party or whatever. Even at the increase in rates, I'm still having trouble finding a home for a buyer of mine. Be specific. They're looking for 3 bedrooms under 700 and Encinitas. Do you know of anything? That's a really good way to answer how's the market or how's business, because you're in a very indirect way showing them, A, you have buyers, and B, trying to get a referral, right? That's a really good referral script. And this is something you can use. I had one of my agents the other day was like, hey, I was just at she just met, it was like a friend of her husband's, friend of a friend or something, right? Not a lot of rapport. Met her at a party. And she's talking about maybe selling her house. Okay, now it's awkward. You're at a party and you're a realtor, and they don't know you're a realtor, and offhanded they mention they're considering selling their house or whatever. So she's like, I didn't want to be the girl who was like, hey, do you have I'm a realtor, can I help you? And it's like, I know I met you 4 minutes ago, and for all you know, I'm homeless, but can I help? Not awesome. This is the same script. So this is what I coached her on. It's like, so what you do now is just get a hold of her phone number, text her, call her, whatever, and say, hey, I loved your house, beautiful house, and I know you mentioned you were interested in selling. We've got a buyer who's looking for something really similar to that. Would it be okay if I showed them your house or let them know about your house? That's way better, because now you're going to find out a lot of details. Do they have a realtor, whatever, all that stuff. But you're coming from a place of contribution. And at this point, you don't know anything about the house, right? You don't know what they want to sell it for or whatever. So if they're like, yeah, actually, we're looking to get started. Now you have a conversation going. Okay, well, how much are you looking to sell it for? Do you have a realtor? Whatever. And now, oh, no, you don't have a realtor. You don't know how much. Great. Well, hey, I'd be happy to come take a look at it, right? So that dialogue flows a lot better than, can I be your realtor? I'm not too busy. I'm not. I know I look super busy, but I'm not. This is better. And it works the same way inverse. If you've got, you can represent listings in the same way, right? I've got a great listing coming up that we're looking for a buyer on. If you happen to know any buyers who are looking in Encinitas under 700, we got a listing coming to market soon that I'd be happy to share with them, right? So if there's a buyer, the general philosophy here is buyers are not looking for realtors. Buyers are looking for houses. So you're always talking about houses, not being a realtor. Sellers are not looking for realtors. They would do it without you if they could. Many do it without you. What they are looking for is buyers. So you're always positioning yourself. Positioning is just a marketing word that means how are you setting yourself apart? Where are you putting yourself in the mind frame of someone? And what you want to always be positioned as is the person who has houses and the person who has buyers. And you're constantly telling that story in a million different ways. That's all I'm doing in all this stuff. And when, in particular, on the houses side, you want to be the one who has access to houses that nobody else has, so the off-market properties that are not on Zillow. And so you got to get good at finding off-market properties. Check out that post I did that'll help you do that. All right, so that's a good way to get those. As a review from, or a quote from Garrett. So Garrett is a great sales guy on my team, one of my top guys in Arizona. I don't know, he'll do probably 30, 40 buyer deals this year. I can't tell you how many closings I've had with clients who fired their previous agent for not following up with them. My most recent one was a $3.2 million buyer who came to me explaining that his last agent had only sent him 3 homes to view. Let that sit in. That's happening. Some agent got a $3.2 million buyer, was like, yeah, this is it. Here's what's available. Like, I don't know what they thought they were doing, but they gave them these 3 houses, and the people were like, there's got to be more. And they saw these other houses on Zillow. So they called us, and Garrett went and sold them a house a week later, $3.2 million deal. It's like, yeah, there's more than 3. Here's all these other houses, right? So the focus is if you can be the one with the houses, you will win. because most agents, including agents who have $3 million buyers, aren't doing it. So do it, first of all, like get good at it, learn it, and then position yourself always as that person. Be a market maker. Okay, so how would you like to make 3% on every deal? I'm just going to keep going. You guys, can we go? Keep going? All right. I'll go leave early if you want. All right, let's help you make 3% on every deal. And let me walk you through how this works. So any other questions on the positioning, marketing, getting more buyers, sellers, all that stuff? Okay. And this is being recorded too, so you guys can always come back and rewatch it. All right, getting 3% on every deal. This is exciting times, everybody. The fact that, as several people brought up over here, the fact that now you can get seller concessions, the seller's now willing to put money into the kitty to get deals done, changes everything. In particular, how much you get paid. So let me walk through how this works. I'm going to walk you through how we land buyers, the process. And I'm going to take it from the perspective of a Zillow lead, because those are hard. And it just is, everything works the same if it's like a good referral lead or whatever. It's just easier if that's the case. But if it's a Zillow lead, it looks like this. The phone rings. There's someone on the phone. Our script is, hey, do you want to see, I see you want to see the house on 123 Main Street. How's today at 3 o'clock? Okay, great. We'll go see the house 3 o'clock, right? We get there. Now I call it the driveway meeting. Could be like the living room meeting, whatever. Your whole process, when you first meet with a buyer, this is a person who inquired on a property. They didn't call you. They called on a property. If they called you, you can kind of skip over this part, but you'll catch on in a second. But if they called about a property, you need to now convince them that the method they're currently using is not a good way to see houses. Maybe they this works for open houses too. You said open houses. This is exactly what you do at an open house. And by the way, if you're low on deals, like I get asked often, if you drop me off in Kentucky or whatever, if I just had a real estate license in some place I didn't know anybody, what would I do? I would sit 30 open houses in 30 days, and I promise you I'd have 3 or 4 in escrow. And it's because of 2 things. One is I've learned a few things. I know how to do this. But more importantly, the repetition of just like getting reps, just, Tom Brady style, just freaking morning after morning, throwing the ball, you get better at it. And so if you need a deal, go start sitting open houses. I'm talking Tuesdays, Mondays, every day, and just get really, really good at it. And the other thing I would do to make that faster is I would hire someone to put out signs. Most cities this size have some companies who you can pay to put out the open house signs, because that's critical. You got to have like tons of signs, right? And I don't want to put out signs. So that's what I would do. Here's what that would look like when the person comes to the open house, or you get to the house, right? I'll walk you through it. Let's see. Yeah, here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to them about off-market properties. And there's a couple ways to do this, but my new favorite language for this is, so are you interested in seeing just the houses on Zillow, or would you like to see all the houses that are available for sale? Everyone, of course, wants to see all the houses that are for sale, but you just planted a seed of doubt that there are houses for sale that are not on Zillow, which is true, of course. And so they're going to say, well, all the houses. Okay, great. I have a great list of, in our case, a couple hundred off-market properties that are not available online. These are properties that are coming soon. You can't find them on Zillow anywhere. I would love to learn more about what you're looking for in a property to see if any of our houses might be a fit for you. Do you have 5 minutes to sit down and tell me a little bit about what you're looking for? What you're doing in that scenario is your whole goal of that initial interaction, or of an interaction at an open house, is to set an appointment. Because in that scenario, to figure out timing and motivation, you have to have a bit of a conversation, right? So you are trying to set an appointment. Now, the appointment could be right then. So if they're like, yeah, I got some time. Okay, great. We can do it in the living room right here, whatever. Sit at the kitchen table if it's not busy. If it is, we go to the Starbucks, whatever it is. Like, we're going to go somewhere close by. If they're like, yeah, I got some time. Okay, hey, why don't we go to Starbucks? We'll sit down. I'll buy you a coffee, and we'll learn a little bit about each other and what you're looking for in a property. So you've got to position yourself, again, as the person with the houses. You've got stuff they can't get access to. So that's step 1. And in the buyer book, we have like this little thing. The buyer book I have is that we'll send you guys as an EXP one. It doesn't have Gluch Group stuff in there. So you could use it tomorrow if you're at EXP. If you're at another brokerage, real easy. Send it to a graphic designer on Fiverr and have them switch to the logo, But this anybody could use. So we've got our top secret, and this is what it looks like on the screen. And you kind of show them that, right? Here's what we have. Okay, so now you're in a dialogue. So this is like a first date, right? You don't sit down on a first date and go, hey, I'm awesome. Let me tell you all the great things about me. That's not going to work. So ask some questions, okay? So you're real quick. You're just positioning in their mind doubt that they're not seeing all the properties, and then now you're hearing from them. What are you looking for in a property? Okay, what's great? Got it. And that most of the time will work. Sometimes people are just like, I don't know, I just wanted to see this house, or, they're just like, I'm just kicking like they're not really interested in hearing more about other properties. And now that's tougher. You just got to do some digging. It's like, well, okay, so I get it, but like, you push the button on Zillow, or you came by the open house or the whatever, like, tell me more about why. Like, oh, I'm just in the neighborhood and wanted to check it out or whatever. And then I would just kind of prod a little bit if you can. I mean, you got to use your social awareness, but a little bit of like, try to find out if there's something behind the scenes. They just don't want to talk to a salesperson, right? Be like, oh, okay, got it. Well, I do, if in case anything changes, we do have a couple really incredible deals right now, houses that are kind of similar to this, that are like 20% on the market right now. The market's just crazy. And so we do have occasionally these really crazy screaming deals. And if you'd like, I can keep you in mind when those come up. And just kind of prod around a little bit, right? But generally speaking, this will work. You get their criteria from them, and then you go to the next step. So I've got all of our little pages here. This is how we kind of set ourselves apart as realtors, as we have, we're going to come up with a battle plan to help them win when they make their offer. Here's the reasons, and this stuff's all in that buyer book that we'll give you too as well. And one of the things we're doing as we go through these pages, so what's going to happen is you're going to say, okay, we'll sit down for 10 minutes, right? We're going to talk. They'll tell you what they want in a house. And your promise was that you're going to show them the off-market properties, right? And what's going to happen is you are not going to show them the off-market properties because they're not a client yet. And you cannot show off-market properties to people who are not your client, right? I guess, I don't know, maybe that's a rule. Sure, sounds like a rule. We'll make it a rule. So that is your language around, hey, can you just send them to me? I can't actually, because we have these clear cooperation rules. And we're not allowed to show properties that aren't actually actively listed to people who aren't our clients. So let me show you what it looks like to become a client. And then you're having this conversation. You're walking them through some things that make you cool, whatever that looks like. We've got our version in the buyer book. You're welcome to copy our stuff. Some of the cool things that we do, this is all marketing stuff, is work with a 5-star realtor. Google me. You'll see some cool stuff there. We have a commission-back guarantee. Get this. How brave are you, my friends, my marketing friends? We have a commission-back guarantee at the Gluch Group. So if at any point, Mr. Buyer, here's the problem with real estate is any agent's going to sit here and tell you they're going to do a great job and they're going to be wonderful and all that stuff, but you don't actually know how good they are until it's too late. You're already in escrow, things didn't go good, you have problems. We want to make sure that you are confident that we will work for you every single day of the process. And so we will give you 100% of our commission back all the way up until the day before closing. No questions asked, condition-free, any reason. If you just don't feel like we earned it, then we didn't earn it. We'll give it back to you. Does that sound fair? Ooh, that'll pucker you up right there. And here's the thing, it's good for buyers, it's incredible for sellers. You're at a listing appointment, you're up against 3-4 other listing agents. Hey, here's the thing, a lot of listing agents, they're going to lock you into a 6-month contract to sell the house because they want to protect themselves. They're going to spend some money, time, and energy marketing this thing. And so, you got to stick with them for 6 months. Our contracts are cancelable at any time if you're not happy with how we're doing. And even more than that, we'll put all of our money on the line. And all the way up until the day before closing, if you're not happy with how this went, we will give you our commission back 100%. That's an incredibly powerful close for a listing appointment because nobody else is doing that. So I would look into it. I would think about it. I emailed our broker. I said, hey, here's the language or whatever. And she said, you're insane. That was literally her email back to me. And I said, but it's legal, right? Yeah, no problem. You can give your money away if you want. Yeah, questions?
So you said that you're giving the commission back before close of escrow. So you haven't earned the commission, you didn't have the commission. What are you giving back prior to close of escrow?
They just have to notify us a day before close of escrow.
And you're going to give them whatever is the commission you
Yeah.
haven't closed, but you're giving them the money?
We give it to them at closing. Yeah, so in the actual language of the contract, it says we'll give it to them at closing because we haven't, until we get the money, we can't give it to them. But I wanted to put in there day before close because I didn't want people calling me in 6 months and saying, hey, I want my commission back. So, because we're not going to. 0. Now, that probably means I'm not marketing it hard enough, really, honestly. We should have some people who've asked us. So that just means I'm not telling the story enough. So we'll get better. And when that happens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a big freaking check, and I'm going to go over to their house, wherever they live, and get a picture with them of me giving them the check, and it's going to be the front of my freaking website. Because it will earn us infinitely more. It'll be the best marketing dollars I ever spent. You got to start thinking like a marketer, not a realtor, right? we're playing a different game than most realtors. Like this is not the stuff most people are thinking about. It will set you apart. Takes a little bit of cojones, but it's pretty cool. And then, hey, you love someone else did I get all the questions? Any other? Okay. Love your next home, we'll sell it for free. This is another thing we put in the buyer book. Hey, if you don't love this house, here's the thing. You don't know. You buy a house, maybe the neighbor's dog is terrible, whatever. There's a helicopter that flies by every morning at 2 a.m. You don't know. There's some things you're just not going to know. And so what we want to do is stand behind you all the way through your home ownership. And so if at any point in the next year, 2 years, whatever you want to make it, you're not happy with this home, we will sell it for you for free. And the only condition to that is that they be buying a house with us too. Because, you would do that. If someone's like, I hate this place, whatever. If you're going to earn the commission on the purchase anyways, why not sell it for them for free? So we put that in there, love your next home, we'll sell it for free. So we're just positioning ourselves differently. And then we finally get to the close, which is, you guys all have your, I don't know, what do you call it? I have a real estate team in California. I still don't know what this is called. The buyer-broker agreement, is that what it's called here too? Okay, buyer-broker agreement. That thing is terrible and terrifying, and don't use that, right? That's a scary, terrible document, right? So at this point in the close, so again, to reiterate, we had a 5-minute interaction early on where basically I said, hey, we've got properties. Would you like to learn about the properties? Sure. I'll tell you what you're not doing is going over those properties. You're going over the stuff I'm talking about. What makes you a little bit different as a realtor, learning more about what they're looking for in a house. And if all you did at all was just bring up the VIP buyer agreement I have there and just go through that would be good enough. You could even skip all those other pages I showed you. But if you want, you can just use the pages that are in that buyer book. And so this says, how much does hiring a real estate agent cost? And so that, again, you're back to a dialogue. We don't want this to be a one-way conversation. So, hey, do you know how real estate agents get paid? And some people know, some people won't. And what you're going to say is, hey, here's the cool thing. As a buyer, you don't actually pay me anything. I get paid by the seller, and they pay 100% of the commission, so none of this comes out of your pocket. But here's the problem. Real estate commissions have been going down. And you got to tell the story because they need to kind of understand why it is they're signing this thing or what's going on. And here's the problem. Real estate commissions are going down. And on this page here, I have screenshot buyer broker commissions that are $0 or like $1 on the page. And so I show them, hey, here's the thing. Some people, some sellers, they're listing their houses on MLS they're not paying us anything. And so can you imagine how a real estate agent would be really disincentivized from showing you this property because they're literally going to make $0 on this? Can you understand why an agent might brush that one past, might not actually show you that property? And people are going to get that, right? Yeah, of course. Here's the thing. That's a real problem, and it's happening in real estate. There's a lot of agents who just will not show you properties because they're not going to get paid on it, and I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to have access to everything on the market, for sale by owners, whatever, everything. Properties offering $0. And so the way we solve this problem, so we're positioning it as a problem for them. Who's the problem really for? It's really for us, right? But we're repositioning that problem as a problem for you. Here's the problem is realtors aren't going to show you all the houses. But I'm never going to do that to you. So here's what's going to happen is we have our VIP buyer agreement, and that's the solution to this problem. And the VIP buyer agreement is a sales document. It's a marketing document. It's not meant to be a legal contract. You can copy it if you want. You run it by your broker, your attorney, or whatever. But this is not meant to be enforceable. This is meant to be a paper handshake, and we even use that language. Hey, this document is cancelable at any time for any reason or no reason at all. In fact, our commission is 100% refundable if you're not happy, as I mentioned. So there's no risk in you signing this, and this is really obviously you signing it, it's actually better for you than it is for me because of the way this is written. So it's really more of a paper handshake. I'm going to do a lot of work. I'm going to go find all these properties for you, like I mentioned, and I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. Does that sound fair? I like that language too, does that sound fair? And then you can just run through the stuff here. Hey, I'm going to assist you in finding a house. I'll update you regarding any properties that match your criteria. I'll arrange a private showing. You're just telling them what you're going to do for them. Here's our bonuses, commission back guarantee. You can cancel this at any time, buyback or sell for free guarantee. And then at the bottom, it just says, hey, we're going to make, and you can put whatever number you want in there, 2.5, 3, whatever it is. And that is how you set up the precedent with these people that you are going to get paid whatever you decide. And so if you decide 3%, which is what I would suggest, then that's what it is. I get paid 3% of the sale price of the home when we close, and that gets paid for by the seller. In the event that the seller isn't offering anything, like this scenario here. Usually they're offering something, but if they're not offering anything, or if they're offering less than 3%, then what I'm going to do is negotiate on your behalf to get the seller to pay the difference. So if they're only paying 2%, I'll get the seller to pay the 1%. You're going to have loan fees and title fees and realtor fees, right? And so one of the things I'm going to work hard to do is to get the seller to pay as many of those fees as possible. Does that make sense? And so you're just giving them you're pre-framing what's going to happen when inevitably you sell them a house where the fee is lower. And I'll explain how we're going to do that in a minute. And they sign, and again, this is not, I would never sue anybody who like went and bought a house with some other, I'm just not going to do it. So I don't really care. I just am getting them to sign it because I want to, mostly because I need to have the conversation that, hey, I'm going to get paid 3% on this deal. Like we need to get that arranged between the two of us. That's the main reason for this. All right, I'm going to get the dynamics of how this works in a second, but do you get this so far? I've got houses. Let's talk about what you want. Look how great I am. Here's how I get paid, right? Real simple. This is 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Doesn't need to be long. Hey, but what if I'm working with a buyer and I didn't have them sign, right? So I just walked you through how to do this initially, but now you guys are whining and crying, right? Okay, here's how you get someone on the phone, because like you got all these buyers you're working with, you got no agreement with. You didn't sign anything, right? You're just working with anybody with a pulse, okay? Which, now, if someone doesn't want to sign this, will I still work with them? I don't know, it depends on how busy I am, right? If you're not busy, yeah, sure. But at least you know where you stand. If they don't want to sign it, you get why, right? My agents don't get this signed all the time. They get it signed some of the time. And the stronger ones get it more. So you got to have a come to Jesus talk. You got to set a meeting. So you need to set some precedent for these people who've ghosted you. And now you're like, uh-oh, I'm in the wind with these people. I got no VIP buyer agreement signed. What am I going to do? You got to you need to have a meeting with them. So you need some excuse to talk to them. Hey, good news, I now have access to these off-market homes. Good news, I now have a buyer battle plan. Whatever. Your position, it's the same exact positioning. Is, hey, I just got a hold of these cool new off-market properties. Let's sit down and see if any of them are fit for you. I've got a few, you're just trying to set the precedent to have a meeting. We got a new loan product I'd like to chat with you about that I think would be really cool for you to take a look at. Let's jump, let's have a quick meeting at Starbucks or Zoom or whatever. And then you do the buyer meeting I just talked about. Walk them through that. And at the meeting, you just say, hey, we just got started so quickly. I know 6 months ago when we met, we just kind of got rocking and rolling. But I just wanted to kind of walk you through this whole process, how I can help you purchase a home, kind of explain a little bit what sets us apart, and then we'll talk about those off-market properties I mentioned. All right? Okay, so now your buyer's on board. How are you going to collect your fee? What time is it here? Anyone got the time? Okay, cool. So I'm going to go like 20 more minutes, right? Is that good? Okay. Okay. This is a pretty important part, how you're actually going to get your money. And this right here, this will change your career if you really do this deal right, okay? So how are you going to get your money? First of all, every single time you show a house, you should be asking the listing agent for more money every time. Even if you don't have a buyer agreement signed with somebody. Like, why wouldn't you ask the listing agent to pay you more money? Because sometimes they're going to say yes. So here's a script for that. Call the listing agent. I've got a great client looking for a home similar to the one you've got listed, right? So your buyer tells you, I want to go see 123 Main Street. What do? Call the list agent. Hey, I got a buyer looking for something similar to your house on 123 Main Street. It wasn't pulling up in their search because you could say whatever you want. Some reason why it wasn't fitting in their parameters. Hey, I happened to see it while I was looking for another client. I think it might be a great fit for them. They are, and sell, talk about how great they are. I see that the buyer's agent fee listed is X%, and my buyers agreed to pay 3%. They'd rather not pay that out of pocket, of course. Are you willing to increase the fee to X%? I'd be happy to show it this afternoon. Does that work for you? Just ask. Just ask for more. Every time you show a house. Just do that. Like, why wouldn't you ask for more money? Some of them will say yes, just with that script. That simple. I see the wheels turning. Some of you are like, I don't even understand how that works, ask for more money. I'm telling you, this works. Just call and ask. And our listings, if someone does that for us on our listings, if that listing's been sitting around for a while, you know what our answer is? Yep, absolutely we'll do that. No problemo. And the market's softer, so the control was all on the listing agent side. Listing agents didn't have any time for buyer's agents a year ago. Now, you're like manna from heaven. You call their phone up, right? You're the only phone call they got all day on that freaking listing. You think they'll raise their co-broke freak? Yes, they will. Just ask. Just ask. Okay? If they push back, hey, I totally get it. So this is like 2.0, getting good at this language. Hey, I totally understand. Typically if they say no, their answer is like, it'll just be no. Or they'll say, no, I'm only getting paid. I took it at a discount, right? Like I listed it for 4% and I'm only getting 2%, or they'll say something like that. Okay. Hey, I totally get it. I'm not trying to take money out of your pocket or even the seller's pocket. I'm just trying to get the fee financed into the loan. Why don't you just send over an email or CBB confirming X%, and then if we send over an offer, and I really think we might, then you can let your seller know to counter at whatever price nets them what they want. Just adjust your counter offer accordingly so that you and your seller get the number they need. You're just helping them get over the hurdle of like, hey, we're going to send over an offer if we do, and it's like $1 million or whatever. And if I'm asking for an extra point, then just let your seller know. Like, let's get this in writing before we do all this from the agent, right? And just let your seller know to counter whatever they need to counter. And that is a great way to handle the first objection of like, I don't want to do it or whatever, right? I'm telling you, this right here, and this doesn't even require that your buyer has signed a VIP buyer agreement, because they're not paying for any. This is all coming from the listing agent anyways. So this is just try. Like, you don't have to do anything extra other than make a phone call and do this. All right, so let's walk through. So that's level 1.0, which is just like ask for more money. That's level 1.0. Level 2.0 is you get a VIP buyer agreement signed, and now we're going to try to collect in different ways. And you got to run this by your lender, your escrow, your title company if you're going to do it this way. So if you're now in a situation where the buyer has agreed to pay 3%, the seller is only offering 2.5%, you can't get it out of the listing agent, they're not going to play ball with you. Now you got to get it from the seller. And so this is how that looks. And what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, you're going to send over an offer, right? So let's say there's a 1 point difference, so you're going to send over an offer, and you're going to ask for closing cost concessions. Ask for 2% or 3% or whatever you ask for. And in that, when you send over that offer, you've got to make a phone call to the list agent and say, hey, listen, I just sent over an offer. You're going to love it. It's amazing. And here's the thing, I want to be super clear. We asked for some closing cost concessions in there. If you're going to counter us, call me first. I don't want to send back 19 counter offers. Let's just get this done verbally, and let's knock this out. So call me first if you're going to counter. And if you're going to counter, do not counter out the closing cost concessions. Or if you care about the title company or whatever, then say that too, right? Don't count out the title company, whatever. It's important to the buyers that we get those closing cost concessions. Because if you don't make that phone call, what's going to happen? They're going to counter you back with no closing cost concessions. And now you got to have an awkward conversation with your buyer, and you don't want to do that. So you want to keep the closing cost credit in there. And that's how you do it, is you just verbally get with that agent. Let's say they counter it out anyways. Call them back. Hey, listen, I got the counter. Awesome, thank you. But I see here you forgot about the closing cost concession. Maybe I didn't make it clear. We really need those. So could you just adjust the net and send it back with those closing cost concessions in there? And that's a way to keep the closing cost concessions in there, which will help cover your fee. Because the way we do it is the buyer never pays. Like, if we can't get it out of the seller or out of the listing agent, we don't make the buyer pay. Now you can, if you got a VIP buyer agreement and the seller won't pay the fee, then you just put it on the HUD. It's just a half point, just like the lender gets his fee and the escrow company gets their fee, you get yours. You just put it on the HUD and the buyer pays it. That's totally fine. But I like to have the conversation when I'm having it with the buyer to say, you'll never pay it. It's never going to come out of your pocket. It will always come out of the seller's pocket. And so we have to deliver on that, which means we have to be good negotiators to get that done. And it means when things were hot, if you're up against 10 offers, this isn't going to work. This just won't. So for like 3 years, this didn't happen for us. We took what we could get, just like everybody else. But the market's changed. And by the way, on the listing side, we were offering lower and lower co-brokes. So we just played that angle. And now we're offering higher co-broks and getting it on the buy side. You just have to think about where the market is and position your fees appropriately. And this is just like, if you're going to do this, like when you write the offer, typically the lender is going to make you have it in the offer. It's got to say in there somewhere that the closing cost concessions can go to your commission. But you don't want to just write that in on like the page where you can write in whatever you want. You need to write it in a way that buries it. So we write it, hey, closing cost concessions mentioned in line whatever to include title fees, escrow fees, home warranty. You put in real estate commissions like buried in the middle there. So these like really smart listing agents don't go, wait, you're going to get paid too much? Like you don't want them sniffing that out. So you put it in the middle of all the document, and that will typically solve that problem. So you get it in the contract. This is all in there so that the closing cost consent, everybody knows that can go to a real estate commission, and then you're good. It can just show up on the HUD. All right? This I just explained. Here I'm going to send over the offer. Getting buyer agreements signed and collecting your fee isn't nearly as hard as it sounds. This is Brad, he'll probably close 50 deals this year. I've gotten hundreds signed. There's no easier way to raise your income. Great agents deserve to be paid well. I think most agents just don't know how much better they are than an average agent. Part of this is a self-worth issue. You just don't think you're as good as you are. You're awesome, and you just don't know it yet. You don't buy it. It's like you get to a point in your confidence, you got to talk yourself up to where you're like, yeah, I deserve it. And then actually earn it, right? Go find the properties off market, all that stuff. So that is getting your fee. Any questions on that? I know that's kind of a lot. If I was going to boil it down to one thing that you could start doing right now, it would be that deal where you just call every listing agent before you show their house and ask them for more money. Like, it's really that simple. It really is that simple. Can everybody do that? Raise your hand if you can ask for more money, like this week, right? Yeah. Why not? Sorry if you're one of the listing agents that gets asked this week. Well, listen, I can't win with everybody, okay? Okay, I'm almost done here selling listings. This is just a couple quick tips for any other questions on that before I move on? All right. That's probably because you haven't quite thought it all the way through. That's okay. Watch the tape. I also have, I did a version of this in San Diego that's on my website too. Selling listings. Hey, buyers are hard. How do I get listings? Okay, let's talk about listings real quick. This is my buddy Dan down in San Diego. One way to get listings is to buy, I don't know, $1 million a year worth of bus ads. That works. Works pretty good for Dan. So that's it. I'll see you next week. Right? Just go do that. No, don't do that. That's crazy. Unless you're freaking Dan Beard and you've got Brent Gove or whoever and you've got the money to do that, right? So what you want to do is you want to be Bigfoot stomping up and down in a puddle. Dan is playing at such a gigantic level. It's such a big city. It's just insanely expensive, and if you can do it, great. But most of us can't do that. So you got to pick a smaller niche to live in. This is a thing, unbranded campaign that works really well. It's not my campaign. It's on, if you Google listing agent lifestyle, it's a guy named Dean Jackson who does a really good, he has like a little $80 a month coaching program. You don't necessarily need to sign up for the program, but you can listen to his podcast. He talks about this program, and it's basically an unbranded program. You're just offering people a free report of the home values in their area, and it's a cheaper way to get leads. So that's one way. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that takes a lot of administrative work to get that program done. Here's some easier ways. Easiest way to get listings is to get them as referrals and for repeat and referral business. So I did a great post on my website called Building Your Database. You can check that out, and it talks about how to grow your database. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But HomeBot is one thing you could also do very quickly, and I would recommend very quickly. I think this is $40 a month, and it is a spectacular program. It sends everybody who you have an email for and a physical address for their home value once a month. And it's inexpensive, and it works really well. The open rates are really, really good. And on the back end, they get an option where they can say, I want a CMA, or, so every month they're getting this update on their home value. And everyone always asks, is it accurate? And the answer is it doesn't matter. The fact that they're even questioning or wondering or looking at it is what really matters. The open rate's about 60% on the emails, and a lot of those people ask for like cash offers or CMAs or whatever, and you can sort by who is most active in there, like who's been looking at their home value lately, and that's a really good list to work down if you need some prospecting phone. Who are you going to call today? Look at the people who've been checking out their home value. And the script for that would be, I would go back to hey, I got someone looking for a house in your neighborhood. Do you know anybody? That way, if they are thinking about selling, they're like, yeah, me actually. So I love HomeBot. Got a video on that again. And World's Most Interesting Postcard, same thing. Got a video on that. This is a great referral getting postcard that we use that was very effective that Dean Jackson in that program creates. So again, that's on my website. I'm just giving you guys, I wanted to give you more, and that way you can go home. And if those of you who are interested enough can pop around and check this stuff out yourself as well. This is a video I did about that postcard. And some results that just shows we do a lot of houses. Let's see. Okay. All right. First, my listing didn't sell the first weekend, right? So many things to cry about right now. It's a sad time. Sad time. Okay, you got to set your seller expectations. So just be sure that when you're doing your initial conversations with your sellers that you're letting them know here's what's happening. You got to get some charts, whatever it is. Like my favorite ones are price changes. Like you can usually get that data from your MLS, like how many price drops there have been over time, compared to this time last year to now. Show them how many more people are lowering their price, how many more days on market it is. You need some charts, some data. Don't just go in there with anecdotes. Go in there with data to show them, hey, this is going to take a while. And I know your friend and your neighbor and your cousin and everyone you know sold their house in an hour with 10 offers, and that is not how it works anymore. And I can prove it. So just be sure to set those expectations on the front end. And then the other thing we do is we have a weekly update. So this is a little document we use, and it's just how many views did they get on Zillow. My VAs create this. They email it to all our sellers on Wednesdays. So all of our sellers get this email with like how many views on MLS, how many views on Zillow, how many saves, whatever. And then any feedback we got on the property. And then my listing agent calls every Thursday. So they get the report on Wednesday. They get a call on Thursday every single week. And my favorite line for this when you're meeting with your sellers is we always tell them, hey, you're never going to be in the dark. We did a review of all of our reviews that we have online, like thousands of reviews. What are the common things people say that they liked about us? And the most common thing people said was that they didn't feel like they were in the dark. And I felt like, okay, well, let's make sure we emphasize that. So when we meet with sellers, we always tell them, hey, we're going to call you every Thursday, and it's the worst call we make every week, but we will call you. And some of those calls are going to be, well, your house didn't sell. See you next week. Like, we don't really have anything new to say. I also tell them in the beginning, hey, what the tendency is, we get 3 weeks down the road, 4 weeks down the road, the house hasn't sold, and the seller's like, well, what are we going to do now? And I want to make sure that I'm talking to the seller right now, right? Like, if you're my sellers. I want to make sure you know that I'm not like hiding my best marketing for like 4 weeks from now. Like, we're going to roll out the big guns day one, because that's when most people are going to be looking at your house. So everything we know how to do, all the master craft marketing stuff we do, we're going to unload those cannons all week one. And then our strategy moving forward will be to continue doing what we started doing. We're not going to add anything new, because why would we do that? Let's keep the best stuff all the way at the beginning. And the strategy at 3 weeks and 4 weeks is, if we don't have, and we just tell them right up front, every 3 weeks, what we're going to do is, if we haven't sold, we know that the market is saying our house is overpriced. And the strategy moving forward will be to lower the price, because the market's telling us we need to. That way they're not at week 3 like, hey, what's the new cool whiz-bang thing you're going to do? Because I've told them. Now, people will still do that, but a lot less if you pre-frame it this way. So we're going to call you every week, let you know what's going on. We also drop our prices every week, $50, because we want that to be refreshed in people's MLS feeds. And, I talk about marketing, right? Like, everybody, how many times does Coca-Cola want you to see their Coca-Cola sign? Like 1 million. Why? Because they know that humans, they're thinking about themselves. They're living their life. They're not thinking about your listing. And so the fact that somebody saw it once doesn't mean they really noticed it. So we want to make sure that it gets emailed to them at least once a week. So we're going to drop the price every Friday, or I think we do it Thursdays, every Thursday, $50. So that's what my agent says on Thursdays. Hey, here's the showing feedback. Maybe there is some things we could fix, we could change, whatever, we do that. And we're going to drop the price $50. We'll just recycle the listing, and I'll call you next week, let you know how it goes. And this way everybody knows what's going to happen. Any questions on that? Makes it simple. Again, people are still going to get mad. They're going to be frustrated. It's not all going to go perfect, but this does help. All right, and that's it. So again, if you guys want that buyer book or anything else, you can go to my Instagram and hit my group up. They will get back to you and send you a little thing where you can put your email in. And I'll also email you every week. I have stuff I post on my website about how to grow your real estate business. And so I'm happy to send those to you as well. And thanks, you guys. This is great. Great to be here. Appreciate it.